fantasy and reality in when you are young. Let's see how Zhang Ailing describes the love brain. When she wrote the novel Youth, Zhang Ailing was already 24 or 25 years old. She had already met Hu Lanqing and married him. Then she was betrayed by Hu Lanqing, and the marriage was about to end. She said, "When I write novels, I always reach a certain point in each article when I feel like I can't write anymore. What makes me particularly painful is the recent work Young Time. I have just overcome the obstacle with great difficulty and can smoothly just let it flow and write. And the story is finished. I can't help but make the decision myself." Even though Zhang Ailing herself felt that the story ended like this, it was too bland, but I still thought it was a wonderful novel. Especially those who have been torn between love and reality should feel more emotional after reading it. Because we long for love, we will add to what is happening in reality, and use our imagination to create a plot that conforms to our own preset logic to rationalize the love we want. Freud's explanation of this is called daydreaming, but in fact, it is thinking too much. There is also a description that is often heard nowadays called love brain out therefore. It is always at this deep moment that I dare to touch those words that are close to my blood and those works that make my heart weep. Just like that night when I sat alone at the table and gently opened Youth. The orange light shined through the paper night. It was not warm, but dark and cold. There seems to be a faint, clear smell of burning incense lingering in the air. This was an illusion I would have every time I read Eiling's works, and that day was no exception. It seems to be a habit, even a ritual. I have always been a person with a strong sense of ritual. The book begins with the words Pan Ruliang had a bad temper when he was studying. He held a pencil in his hand and refused to be idle. He always drew little people on the book. This is an action that modern students, especially middle school students, are used to. It's not even a big deal, but Pan Ruliang is different. His pencil wanders and curves, and involuntarily draws the profile of a face. It is always that face, and it is always to the left. After reading this, we cannot distinguish our Yu Liang from the post-90s generation. Middle school students completely overlap. His bad temper is a kind of self-mockery and a kind of self-stability when he is lonely, alone, and separated from his family. Such a young man might be able to remain stable in his self-constructed world. However, when he encountered Qingxia, everything changed and this stability collapsed. The appearance of this woman made him happy, but this was a strange joy. When he suddenly realized that this was the profile he had always drawn. And it was different from his ignorant mother, restless sister who was painted with makeup, dirty and tired siblings who were ignorant, and his father who was vulgar and seemly. The kind of handsome and generous foreigner in cigarette ads and soap ads. His strange joy is filled with ignorant hope and a touch of melancholy. It is a kind of youthful desire that is ready to move. But he never thought that this young man's longing would be fruitless after all. She misunderstood, and he also misunderstood bit by bit, misunderstood love, and misunderstood youth. They took the opportunity to learn from each other to chat and eat. Being emotionally poor, he thought this was emotion and love. But after all, he did not use the German he learned to tell her about love or marriage. Later, she married a German with whom she had grown up. Perhaps, from the beginning, it was already destined when Qingxia told Ruliang that her sister would get married. She said, "Germans can only marry Germans." From this sentence, Ruliang began to understand Qingxia, and after understanding, his dream could not be fulfilled. This story finally ends with her wedding. They are both weak, ordinary people. Ruliang falls in love for the sake of falling in love, and Qingxia gets married for the sake of getting married. Although there was a weak collision between emotional consciousness and rational choice during this period, in the end this collision was just like cotton hitting white clouds, weak and powerless. Qingxia destroyed the stability that Ruliang had worked so hard to build, but quickly left, leaving a desolate fragment behind. And she also walked into a cage without hope, warmth, and light. They are weak and helpless mortals, and Eiling's writings have never lacked such mortals. They long for stability, but such stability is often broken by the people around them, the surrounding environment, and their own desires. Heart Suture is like this, agar with chips. The first incense is like this. Blockade is like this. Red roses and white roses is like this. Mortal helplessness, loss, and despair have always been Eileen's something to express. The world of Eileen's novels has always been bleak, and Young Time is not the bleakest one among them. Ruliang's father, mother, sisters, brothers-in-law, the priest at Kingsha's wedding, the choir leader, even the groom, and Kingsha's sister, together they formed a bleak world. Their appearances are often ridiculed, and this kind of ridicule is not fierce or extreme, but light and gentle, containing sympathy, not sharp or thorough. Such a story reflects the tragedy of an era. Young Ruliang became a lonely bystander because of his disgust with the old world, and because of his desire for the new world. He liked the silver coffee pot, and the cold and new medical treatment. Equipment. I like clean white coats. I like scholarships, football games, German brand bicycles. I also like Kingsia as much as I like new literature. However, the collision between the new and the old eventually left him stuck in the old quagmire. Even if it is said that only young people are free, this society only gives young people helplessness and sadness, and the traps and ties prevent their hearts from flying far away. Ruliang, Kingsia finally compromised with the times as a young man, and compromised without resisting desperately. Desolation is Eileen's background, as always.
Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.